Okay, so graphs and ratio. Use the graph to calculate how many kilometres there are in 75 miles. So we're looking at 75 miles, and this is the miles axis. So we need to find 75 on there, and it's not on there. So there are a couple of things that you could do here to calculate to kilometres. Firstly, you need to find a nice position. So for example, 20, if you try to read off, let's say 5, if you try and read off 5 miles, it's really hard to get exactly how many there are. So you try and look for a point which cuts through both part of the axes. So 25 miles, and that cuts through nicely at 40. So let's get a ratio. Miles to kilometres. If you've got 25 miles, according to the chart, it's coming out at 40 kilometres. So for every 25 miles, it's equivalent to 40 kilometres. We didn't want that ratio though. We wanted to work out how to do 75 miles. So underneath the miles, we're going to put the 75 miles because that's what we're looking for. So we want 75 miles. Now, using equivalent ratios, how do you get from 25 to 75? Times by 3. If you weren't sure, 25 times something equals 75. Grab your calculator, something, do inverse operation, 75 divided by 25 equals 3. So times by 3. Remember, equivalent, you must do the same to both sides, so times the 40 by 3, and that's going to give you 120. So the answer to this question is 120 kilometres. Now the second part of the question is asking how many miles in 160 kilometres. So we need to use the same information to this time calculate 160 kilometres. So if we look at the graph, you can see that 80 kilometres, going the other way this time, 80 kilometres is 50. So 80 kilometres is 50 miles. So using that ratio, we want to do 160, which is nice and easy because 2 lots of 80 is 160. So times that by 2, and 50 times 2 is 100. Okay, and that would be your answer to that question, 100 miles. And that's just using the information that was given. Now obviously if you did pick a different position, so for example if you decided to do it from the original one, 40, it would have still gave you the same answer, you'd have just been multiplying by a different number. So just to prove it, if you'd have stuck with the original one, miles to kilometres, you'd have had the 25 to 40. You were given that it was 160 kilometres, so it would be going under the kilometre side. So 160 kilometres, 4 times what gives you 160, so, 40 times something equals 160. And that's going to be times by 4, but again you could use your calculator. Inverse operation, the question mark must be, instead of timesing by 40, 160 divided by 40. That would give you the 4 that we're looking for. So 40 lots of 4 is 160. Use equivalent ratios, do the same to both sides. 4 lots of 25 is 100, and that was the answer that we just got, 100 miles. So remember, try and make the maths easy. If it's non-calculator, make it so the numbers are nice and easy to deal with. If it is a calculator paper, it doesn't really matter. Just be careful with your calculations and just double check.